The story of the 12 spies in the promised land after the Israelites had been delivered from slavery in Egypt and had received the law at Mount Sinai. God led them through the wilderness to the border of Canaan, the land he had promised to give them. Canaan was described as a land flowing with milk and honey, a place of abundance and blessings. However, it was also inhabited by strong nations with fortified cities, and the Israelites were hesitant to move forward without first assessing what lay ahead. At the Lord's command, Moses appointed 12 men, one from each tribe of Israel, to spy out the land of Canaan and report back on its inhabitants, cities, and resources. Among these 12 spies were Caleb from the tribe of Judah and Joshua from the tribe of Ephraim, 2 men whose faith in God would set them apart. Moses gave the spies specific instructions: go up through the Negev and into the hill country. See what the land is like and whether the people who live there are strong or weak, few or many. What kind of land do they live in? Is it good or bad? What kind of towns do they live in? Are they unwalled or fortified? How is the soil? Is it fertile or poor? Are there trees in it or not? Do your best to bring back some of the fruit of the land. The 12 spies set out and explored the land for 40 days. They traveled as far as Hebron, where they saw descendants of Anak, a race of giants known for their intimidating stature. They also found a cluster of grapes so large that it had to be carried on a pole between 2 men, along with pomegranates and figs. This was evidence of the land's abundance, just as God had promised. When the spies returned, they gathered the Israelites and gave their report. They confirmed that the land was indeed fertile, saying, "We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit." But then came a troubling part of their report. The people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites live in the Negev. The Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites live in the hill country, and the Canaanites live near the sea and along the Jordan. Fear spread quickly among the Israelites. The people began to doubt God's promise, murmuring and questioning whether they should have left Egypt at all. Caleb, however, silenced the crowd and declared with faith, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." But the other 10 spies contradicted him, spreading fear and discouragement. "We can't attack those people. They are stronger than we are. The land devours those living in it, and all the people we saw there are of great size. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we looked the same to them." That night, the entire assembly of Israel wept and rebelled. They grumbled against Moses and Aaron, saying, "If only we had died in Egypt. Why is the Lord bringing us to this land only to let us fall by the sword? Our wives and children will be taken as plunder. Wouldn't it be better for us to go back to Egypt?" In their despair, they even talked about choosing a leader to take them back to Egypt. Joshua and Caleb tore their clothes in anguish and pleaded with the people. They said, "The land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and will give it to us. Only do not rebel against the Lord. And do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them." Despite their courageous plea, the people refused to listen and even talked about stoning Joshua and Caleb. At that moment, the glory of the Lord appeared at the tent of meeting, and God intervened. God spoke to Moses, expressing his anger at the people's lack of faith. He said, "How long will these people treat me with contempt? How long will they refuse to believe in me, in spite of all the signs I had performed among them?" God threatened to destroy the Israelites and make a new nation from Moses, but Moses interceded on their behalf, appealing to God's mercy and his promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God forgave the people, but declared that they would not enter the promised land. Instead, they would wander in the wilderness for 40 years, 1 year for each day. The spies had explored the land, until the entire generation of adults who had rebelled died off. Only Joshua and Caleb, the 2 faithful spies, would live to enter the land. The 10 spies who had spread fear were struck down by a plague as a sign of God's judgment. The Israelites mourned their disobedience and attempted to take the land by force. But without God's blessing, they were defeated by the Amalekites and Canaanites. The story of the 12 spies is a lesson about faith and trust in God. Despite seeing God's miracles firsthand, the Israelites allowed fear and doubt to overcome them, missing out on the blessings God had prepared for them. Joshua and Caleb's example reminds us to trust in God's promises, even when the obstacles seem insurmountable, for with God, all things are possible.